Hi, friends. Hello, hello. Today we're going to discuss breaking immigration news, something very relevant for our immigration community. Trump's announcement that on day one of his presidency, he's going to issue 100 executive orders. So we're going to try to predict what those orders are going to be about. We're going to talk about ICE enforcement, when ICE can arrest people, when they can question you. We're going to talk about how communities and people, immigrants, are preparing for potential ICE enforcement. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for joining. My name is Alina Shaltsova. I'm an immigration attorney from New York. I've been practicing immigration law for the past 16 years in the United States. If you would like to have a confidential consultation with me, please reach out to my office 917-885-2261 or visit my website for secure booking at shaltsova.com. Thank you very much. Please join me. Don't forget to like, share this stream, and we're going to start. Hi, Ronald. Again, today we're going to discuss breaking news about 100 executive orders that are potentially going to be issued on, January 21st or January 20th, and what they may mean for our immigration community and what they will affect. So, first thing, of course, don't forget to say hello and let me know where you're watching from. And let's start. This is the announcement that was made, as you may see on my screen. If you're watching me on Facebook and YouTube, was made just recently. And we do not know all the details. Of course, nobody is going to give us a list as to what exactly is going to be included in this executive orders, but we can predict with certain degree of certainty that it most likely going to be concerned immigration, and specifically Title 42, Remain in Mexico policy, border wall, and other measures that would help Republicans to achieve their crackdown on immigration. If we speak in terms of measures, potential measures that will affect immigration within the United States, we certainly can expect state of emergency proclamation that Trump already stated is going to announce on the first of his presidency. And then we're most likely going to see expansion of expedited removal and certain measures directed at expanding of the ICE power to arrest individuals within the United States, detain them, and deport them. One of the things that's going to be in a way of the federal government here would be the local governments, because not every local government is going to be cooperative. And of course, followed these announcements by various local and state governments, where people either stated that they will be in support of Trump's measures, or to the opposite, they will not be cooperating. And one of such municipalities is New York City, where New York City's mayor stated that he is most definitely going to cooperate with ICE, while New York State stated that they won't. And specifically, New York State schools are extremely concerned with potential ICE enforcement, and a special memo was sent out to New York State schools, where educators are instructed as to how to behave in case of potential ICE enforcement. Of course, ICE enforcement in schools is of big concern, but let's talk about how likely it is to happen. Schools are very important locations for our communities. This is where we send our kids to receive education. In New York State, any child, regardless of their immigration status, has right to access education and schools. So this is very important. For that reason, we have a lot of undocumented children in our schools, and probably that's exactly how it should be, because children should not be affected by the politics and mistakes that adults are making. Now, under two existing ICE memos, one from 2011 and one from 2021, ICE should not be doing any enforcement on the school's grounds and also in places where children can gather without prior authorization from a supervisor. Generally speaking, such enforcement operations are strongly discouraged. Generally speaking. Of course, there are certain exceptions. If there are certain exigent circumstances, ICE agents as federal agents will have right to access public grounds. For example, if there is a hot pursuit of a person who is believed to be guilty of some serious crimes, in case of national security and public safety, and some other very narrow exceptions. But generally speaking, ICE would not be able to legally access schools. On the current statement of events, New York State schools announced that they do not give permission to federal agents to enter their what they consider private spaces. Without such consent, ICE agents may enter schools' premises only if they're in possession of judicial warrant, authorizing them to do so. So let's talk about the warrants because it's a very important subject. You may know that ICE agents may arrest somebody only if they have a warrant, but ICE warrants that ICE may have may be of two different types: an administrative warrant and a judicial warrant. Most of the times, ICE agents are going to have an administrative warrant with them. And that administrative warrant is not signed by the judge, and it's not authorizing ICE agents to enter your private home unless you consent, or any private space, not public space, any private space without their consent. So if ICE agents are knocking on your door and say, we have a warrant, you have to examine that warrant where possible, if possible, and see who signed that warrant. If it's a judge, you have to open your door. If it's not a judge, you do not have to do that. Of course, federal agents may employ tricks legally to enter your private space by misrepresenting themselves to be somewhere else, like a local law enforcement, local police. It is allowed, and ICE agents are trained how to do that. It's called ruses, like tricks that they may use. And you have to be aware of that as well. So it's going to be sometimes a very close call whether or not you want to open that door. If, let's say, you believe that there is a delivery man at your step or somebody else, and then it may turn out to be that it's actually an ICE agent trying to do their ICE enforcement. But generally speaking, unless one of those executive orders is going to change something, ICE agents will not be entering schools. Again, unless the memos are going to be changed, the previous memos are going to be rescinded, and the policies are going to be changed. There is a question, of course, what parents can do in such a situation if ICE agents would come to schools. It's going to be a very heated, very difficult situation to manage and address. And for that reason, I don't believe that law enforcement is going to escalate the events to this point, because, of course, parents are worried about welfare of their children. They do not want children to be subjected to the stress and trauma. And I don't think parents will be complying with ICE's requests not to intervene. So there will be some situations if this happens, and hopefully, again, it will never ever come to this point. But if it does that on school grounds, parents and ICE clash, what's going to happen is that, again, Fourth Amendment is going to kick in, and any person is free and should not be subject to unreasonable search and seizures. And ICE agents do have to have reason to believe, if they don't have an arrest warrant to arrest somebody, they have to have a reason to believe that the person violates immigration laws, and also that they don't have time to obtain a warrant for their arrest to arrest somebody without even administrative warrant. So the situation is going to be very complex from the legal point of view. Hopefully it will never come to that. I do believe that schools will be free of any enforcement unless there are very, very narrow exceptions, which happen literally once in 100 years. So I strongly believe that schools will be not affected. And that's actually what Tom Homan, a person who is being called Trump's border czar, repeated in his interviews about his actions, planned enforcement actions. He stated that he does not foresee massive enforcement operations that would just roll through communities. Rather, the enforcement operations will be targeted. Okay, but remember, if they are targeted, it means that there will be lists of people prepared in advance as to who can be arrested, and the grounds for their arrests would be vetted in advance. Perhaps these lists are being prepared as we speak. Why? Because to start something on day one, obviously you need to prepare in advance for that. Wouldn't you agree? Other potential executive orders most likely are going to be concerning prosecutorial discretion. And as I mentioned, expansion of expedited removal guidelines. I spoke about this before in my previous videos. What it means is that especially immigrants who newly came to the United States are going to be targeted for enforcement and deportations. Why? Because the law does allow ICE agents to place somebody in expedited opposed to regular removal proceedings if they can prove, if the immigrant cannot prove that they've been in the United States for longer than 2 years and that they crossed the border with inspection or parole. So this is very important to understand. Again, I'm sharing this information because it's only 9 days left prior to new administration taking over and new enforcement to start. And you do need to be aware of your rights. One more point I wanted to discuss, which is, of course, is very important to immigrants. Is it possible that ICE is just going to be stopping everybody in the streets, asking to present proof of their immigration status? This is a very interesting situation. And according to the case law and scholars and everything else, the answer varies. If the person who is stopped is free to leave, does not feel pressured, then ICE is allowed to conduct their limited investigation. If the person is not free to leave, means that they're subjected to temporary detention, however short it is, then to stop such a person, ICE must have a reason to do so and cannot stop you just because you look different. You look like you are an immigrant with no documents in the United States. Again, Tom Homan stated he is not going to allow that type of vetting in the streets. But we're going to see what's going to happen. Of course, again, it's a huge concern for our communities, and we just can hope that whatever enforcement is going to come, it's going to be done lawfully and as humanely as possible. Another huge, huge concern that has to be taken into consideration is that the United States government, as of now, simply doesn't have enough immigration beds sufficient to detain everybody Trump's administration is announcing they're going to be detaining. So if you want to arrest everyone who you believe is unlawfully in the United States, you do have to have facilities to house these people. And right now, there are just not enough facilities. So how practical these announcements are, we're going to see. I know that there is a lack of resources, that's for sure. And taking into consideration pushback from certain communities, I think the enforcement announced is going to be very different from the enforcement that is going to take place. Okay? But one group of people has to really get prepared. I wouldn't say worried, but really get prepared. These are people with existing orders of removal. Why? Because under the United States federal law, failure to depart after your order of removal is final, considered to be a crime. It means that such a person may face criminal charges, and now local law enforcement may arrest them as well. And of course, different set of rules may apply to such a person, and they're an easy target for enforcement. So it's not just an immigration violation, it's actually a crime punishable, if I'm not mistaken, by a fine and or up to 4 years in jail. So is failure to register and failure to provide your updated address. You need to know that every immigrant in the United States, I believe including green card holders, must inform USCIS within 10 days of their moving about their new address. Extremely, extremely important to know that and to comply. These statutes have not been used widely against immigrants, but knowing that new administration is coming and they do need to have means, legal means, including grounds to accomplish their announced goals, I believe that those statutes may be used against immigrants. Okay. And now if you guys have questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Let me see what we have here. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching. Hi, Sujit. Hi, I Anna Smiley. Yes, I see that you have a question about special immigrant visa. Unfortunately, a private lawyer doesn't have much power over special immigrant visas that should be issued to people who used to cooperate with the United States military. Why? Because those visas are issued if your supervisor and their supervisor signed off on your requests, and only this way. And if they don't provide those signatures, it can be extremely challenging to accomplish what you are looking for. However, if somehow you reach the United States border, now at least, and go through what's called parole in place with the CBP 1 and 3, or if you're from Afghanistan, somebody files for humanitarian parole for you. Once you're in the United States, you may request asylum, but asylum is available only for those who are in the United States. You cannot ask for asylum while you're out of the United States. Okay. And I'm very, very sorry to hear what you're going through. It's definitely a very difficult situation. All right. Hi, Aika. My case is with BIA since 2019. Am I at risk of detention under Trump administration? I'm not sure what happened in your case, but if you don't have a final order of removal, then you obviously didn't commit any crime, and you may even have an employment authorization. So I don't know why your case is pending before the BIA for such a long time. Was a motion to reopen filed and you do have a final order of removal, or there was an appeal and the order never became final. So this detail is very, very important. I think you should really clarify it with your attorney and ask your attorney for the best possible course of action. One thing that I do advise people to do, if you guys do have final orders of removal, deportation, exclusion, is to prepare for potential enforcement by putting documents together for stays of removal. Because if you need those stays to be filed, you're typically going to have very limited amount of time for the preparation. And if you are in jail, it's going to be very, very challenging for your family members, your attorney to obtain documents and support. Because there are certain documents like medical records, tax returns, that cannot be obtained without your prior authorization. And it's best if you invest some time and maybe money, depending on how lawyers are handling it, and get those files together and have them ready in case you need them. If you don't need them, fantastic. Another important thing that every undocumented parent has to worry about is potential standby guardian for their minor children in the United States. This is not a joke. You need to go to family court and get a standby guardian because you do not want your kid to go through public forced care system. Okay? Please take my words very seriously, just in case. Because again, we do not know what's there to come. We do not know how to address whatever Trump is planning. We can, of course, predict and guess some of the measures that his new administration is going to be implementing. But one thing I do know, it's better to be over-prepared than find yourself in a heartbreaking situation. Okay? And now I'm going to take some questions from my loyal TikTokers. Thank you guys very much for your hearts and for your questions. Hi, Rodrigo. Oh, Rodrigo, you left me a question in Spanish. Unfortunately, I do not speak it fluently. Hi, 530 Kali. Can I work if my EED renewal is pending and my EOIR case is dismissed? If your work permit renewal was based on the application that was pending before the court, but the court dismissed that application, I do not believe that your extension is no longer valid, okay? I don't think it's valid anymore. But just in case, check with your attorney. Here I provide only general information because I did not see your files and I can make a mistake very easily because I'm just guessing, okay? All right. No, hey, social distance. No, we don't provide free consultation apart from opportunity to ask me questions during the live sessions. I would like to share good news, which if you are following me on social media, you probably are already aware of. The fact that last minute, yesterday, Biden's administration announced extensions of TPS for certain countries: Ukraine, Venezuela, Sudan, and El Salvador. At least one good thing happened, right? Because that TPS status is very important. And if you recall, the last time Trump got into the office, he attempted to stop TPS. With this extension, at least something good happened, right? Especially for those who don't have any other hope. It's very, very important. Okay. All right. Let me see what other questions we have here. All right. Can I travel by a plane from one state to another with a pending asylum case? Right now, you can do it, especially if you have a work permit. If after Real ID Act kicks in, you still have a work permit, you should be able to do that as well. But you do need to know that asylum pending is not status that prevents you from being placed in removal proceedings. So if you do encounter a CBP agent, and that agent for some reason decides that they would like to see you in removal proceedings, they will do that. They will place you. Also, they may detain you. And the only good thing is that as of now, people who do not have criminal convictions typically may post bail and get out of the immigration detention unless they are arriving aliens. Okay, so that's, you need to know. If you are an arriving alien, you will not be able to get out of the jail by placing a bail, immigration bond. The only hope you have is if ICE will release you on your own recognizance. Yes, I do have private consultations, of course. I do need to make a living somehow. I am a private attorney. I don't receive any funds from the government or any non-for-profit organizations. Hi, Boro. Hi, can I travel with a refugee travel document while waiting for my green card application to be approved? Yes, you should be absolutely safe to do that. Hi, can ICE be able to go to sanctuary city jails and detain or put holds on nonviolent crimes? Yes, yes. ICE will be able to do that. ICE will be able to do that. You are aware that there is a new law that has all chances of being passed that will authorize ICE to detain people if they are charged, not even proven to have committed, but charged with theft offenses, burglary, shoplifting. So ICE will be able to do that. New York City already stated that they will not be in ICE's way. However, in New York State, what's interesting is that local law enforcement, as of now, cannot cooperate with ICE and detain people on ICE's behalf per ICE detainers. Okay, as of now, I do not know what's going to happen. But it's not the case everywhere. Every state is different. Even every municipality can be different. Hi, Cassie. My husband went for his interview, but they said he needs I-212. Can we file before, after 2034? Can we file before? All right, so if your husband needs a waiver, and I'm not sure, it's that's what it seems. If the waiver is available, of course, you guys have to submit it. Usually, if the officer after the interview or at the interview determines that they would consider issuing somebody a green card despite certain immigration violations, then they would issue an RFE saying that within 60 to 90 days, you have to file that waiver. What you are sharing here, mentioning 2034, may signal that your husband is subject to permanent bar and first has to stay out of the United States for 10 years and then file for the waiver. I do not know. Again, not enough information. That's a different situation. There is no waiver available within the United States for somebody who is subject to permanent bar, unfortunately. Okay. Let me see if we have a couple more questions. Today is going to be a shorter live. And I hope you guys are having a great weekend, even though with the amount of negative news, it's very difficult to relax. I understand that. But we always can try. All right. Hi, Andres. Let me take your question. I-130 approved, final order of deportation. I-246 approved, TPS from Venezuela, but I have also a Cuban passport, but not been inspected and admitted to apply for Cuban Adjustment Act. All right, if you have TPS and you have a passport from Venezuela, I don't know how you obtained the Cuban passport. I have no idea, but hopefully everything is legal here, right? No fraud involved. Why don't you take the TPS advance parole, travel on it, come back, and you're going to have that entry that you need for adjustment of status. This is just a suggestion. I don't know your situation, but that's something that you probably should consider asking your attorney about, okay? Hi, Yolanda. I got my green card 5 years ago and I didn't know I had to inform USS about my address. Should I get an attorney? You don't need to get an attorney, but just update your address if you moved, okay? Just guys, anybody who did not update their address previously, do it now, okay? Just do it now. Ashigal 76. Hi, Lena. I received Prima Facie determination 3 days ago. How long to get work permit or approval? Why did you receive that determination? Is it a VAWA case? Did you also file I-45 with that? Is it some other case? Let me know. But this prima facie determination is not an indication that work permit is going to come soon, especially for certain types of cases. Hopefully it will, all right, if it's a VAWA case and you file for adjustment of status because your spouse or abuser is a US citizen, then you're not subject to visibility and wait times. And typically, work permit comes within the first 6 months after filing, typically. Sometimes it comes much later. I can't really explain why. Okay. So let me see. Hi, Leo. 7 Maya 360 is approved. How long to close asylum and file I-45? Can it be expedited? Ali, you don't have to close your asylum case to file I-45. This is a common misconception, and even sometimes immigration officers demand that you withdraw your asylum case, but that's not the case. You don't need to withdraw, and I never advise people to withdraw their asylum case prior to the green card approval. If you're not in court, you should file for your I-45 with USCIS and just wait for your interview. If the officer is going to demand that you withdraw your asylum case, you know that that's not proper. You immediately, hopefully, you're going to be accompanied by your attorney, and this has to be discussed with the supervisor immediately. All right, that's how it should be addressed per American immigration laws guidelines, because this issue was discussed several times before. All right. All right, let me take one last question. Hi, Sakune, got 10-year green card for marriage. I haven't applied citizenship after 3 years. Should eligible now, 3 years and 9 months to apply. If you are still residing with your spouse, right, and the marriage is viable, everything is great, then you can file for the green card 2 years and 9 months after the date resident since printed on your green card, right? So you can file it faster than a regular 4 years and 9 months time. Well, guys, thank you very much. I hope you find this information helpful. If so, don't forget to like, share this video. Don't forget to sign up for my channels. We're entering some trying times. I will do my best to share with you accurate information and tips as to how to address this or that situation. For now, remember, it's better to be over-prepared than do nothing and just hope for the best without any type of preparation, because it's never is a good idea. If you are eligible to extend your TPS, please do that. It's extremely important that you don't miss the deadline for the extensions if you are national of one of the countries that was recently redesignated for TPS. I hope to see you soon, most likely next Tuesday. Thank you very much. Have a beautiful weekend and stay connected.